My name is Dr. Catherine Gathu. To begin with, I like to say that I'm a Christian. This means that Christ is at the epitome of everything that I do. I draw a lot of inspiration, strength, and wisdom from Him, and I'm grateful for. I'm also a wife and I'm a mother of 4 wonderful children, 3 boys and a girl, and I'm also glad to be a parent. Professionally, I wear 2 hats. I like to say I'm a family physician who found her passion in teaching. So I work as a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Family Medicine, and I also serve as a medical educator in the undergraduate medical college of the newly launched medical school here at Aga Khan. For me, it's a very humbling experience. I've grown up over the years looking up to those top 40 under 40 nominees every year, reading about them, drawing a lot of inspiration from them, and saying one day, one time, it may be me. I remember last year, one of the nominees really encouraged me to apply for this, and here I am. So yes, it has been a journey, but I'm glad that one of the nominees this year, and I hope that my story encourages somebody else to also get this opportunity in future. Growing up, I grew up in one of the small cities here in Kenya. I grew up in Thika. And growing up, I think one of the things around healthcare I remember quite from an early age is that we had a family doctor. So this was a doctor that we'd often go to. I don't think they had a family medicine specialization, but we knew this was our family doctor. Any cough, any cold. And one thing that I enjoyed to see is this was the same doctor that my dad took care of my dad, took care of my mom, took care of us when we were children, right until the very latter years of our lives. So that's one thing that I remember growing up that has shaped me into who I am today. Interesting for me, probably unlike many other people, but at the age of about 5, I knew I wanted to become a doctor. And my parents played a very significant role in that, in just how they inspired me. My mom was giving a story the other day whereby when I got an A- in my KCSE, I cried because for me at that time it meant that I probably would not pursue medicine through the usual intake into the university at that time because my grades were a bit lower than that. But my dad just encouraged me and said, by whichever avenue possible, I'll make sure that you become the doctor that you have dreamed to be right from when you were a young child. So they were able to sponsor me to the alternative program of medicine. And so I have a lot of who I am right now to thank for my parents for believing in me and going that extra mile to make sure that I have a good foundation in medical education. To begin with, medical education is a rather new field in terms of specialization. We are probably just a handful in Kenya who have specialized in that. And medical education, if I was to summarize it, it's being taught how to teach, especially when it comes to medical students. So my journey began from just me having a lot of sort of criticism around how medical school was back in the days when I was learning. It was a very traditional way of learning whereby a lecturer would come with notes and they're just dictating and your work is just to be a passive recipient of that knowledge. It was quite paternalistic. They know it all. You may not know as much. And when I graduated and I started getting into this professional area of my life, I really wondered, is that the only way? So I got into the medical education space, quite curious and quite eager to learn how medical schools can be taught differently. So I have had a master's in family medicine. That's my first master's, and my second is in medical education, whereby I've been taught how to teach medical students. So generally what I do on a day-to-day, I serve as the academic coordinator of the undergraduate medical students, newly launched here at the Aga Khan University. We have a cohort, the first cohort of 59 students. And so I coordinate the day-to-day running of their learning in the classrooms. I liaise with their teachers, the faculty, to ensure that they're also well trained so that they're able to nurture them and ground them in the medical sciences that the curriculum offers. That's what I do. So as a medical educator, I wear many hats also within this space. Number one, I actually teach in the classroom. So that's one of the things that I do. I coordinate a course, interprofessional education, whereby I ensure that the students are able to learn other aspects of medicine, including teamwork, collaboration, communication, which are other very important aspects just away from the biomedical sciences. I also run the mentorship program here, whereby once the students come in, I've been assigned the role of ensuring each has a mentor, and a mentor who sees them through the different phases of their medical journey. That has probably been one of the greatest privileges that I've had, whereby students come back to tell me that the mentors I gave them were able to nurture them through the different challenges and opportunities in their first year of medical schools. So yes, I teach, I coordinate, I liaise with faculty, and I like to say I'm their go-to. I'm the go-to of the students whenever they need any support, especially in their first year of medical school. As I had mentioned before, the first role that I play that I really enjoy is being a family physician. And just going back into my career journey, we were taught in a disease-focused model, whereby you were taught to treat, the likes of malaria, diabetes. It was quite disease-focused. And I remember sometime in fourth year wondering, do patients only have to come to us when they are sick? Isn't there an alternative way of offering health and wellness to patients? So then my journey, my quest towards learning how to be a better doctor to my patients began, and I just wondered, is there a field that can allow me to see all patient populations, irrespective of their age, gender, disease condition, and offer them comprehensive and holistic care? So that curiosity, that quest to know how better can I offer primary health care to patients. And now I didn't know about family medicine actually until I graduated. When I graduated, I did my internship at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret. When I went to Eldoret, that's when I started hearing family medicine. Family medicine was launched for the first time in 2005 at Moi University. Aga Khan was the second institution to begin this specialization in 2012, and I'm a proud alumni of that first cohort. So generally during internship, that's when I heard about family medicine, and I got to know about it. I got to love it. I got to actually say, this is what I've been looking for, an area in medicine where I can prevent disease, promote health and wellness, and just improve the well-being of the patients within the primary health care setting. One of my other inspirations when I was also learning about the medical career it's drawn from the WHO definition of health. And what it says is that health is not just the absence of disease and infirmity, but the complete state of wellness, physically, mentally, and socially. And for me as a family physician, I'm able to do that. And so that was a groundbreaking moment for me, just to learn that I can focus from a more holistic and preventative and wellness area of patient care, as opposed to just that disease-focused model of care. That's from my clinical angle. In terms of medical education, the biggest, as I've mentioned, the biggest question I had is, could medical students be taught differently from how I learned? So I began to see a bit of challenge when I was in medical school, also around the same time, fourth year. And I didn't also know there was a specialization like medical education. It was only until when I was in training as a family physician, where one of my mentors mentioned that I'm a good teacher. and they asked me whether I would mind specializing in medical education. So at that time, the mentor sort of lighted a bulb in me that I got to know that actually medical doctors can be taught how to teach medical students. And I'm glad that the then Dean of the Medical College here was able to, through the Dean's Fund, sponsor me to pursue my second master's in medical education. And here I am today. I'm 39 years old. I turned 39 in March this year. And my academic journey, as I'd mentioned before, I grew up in Thika. So I went to a primary school in Thika. Subsequently, I went to the Alliance Girls High School for my high school. After that, I went to the University of Nairobi. That's where I did my undergraduate training. I graduated in 2009. In 2010, I was doing my internship at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. At that time, that's when my love for family medicine began, and I started really thinking about pursuing it. I had even thought of going abroad to specialize in it up until 2012, when I just saw an advert in the newspaper that family medicine was being offered here at the Aga Khan University Medical College in Nairobi. That time I didn't want to go so far because I also had a young family and I wanted to be close to my family. So I began my postgraduate training in family medicine from 2012 to 2016, and I graduated in 2017. Subsequently, due to my passion and love in teaching, I found myself in the classroom about a year later pursuing my master's in science in medical education, and I graduated in 2021 from that second master's in medical education. So that has been my academic journey. My colleagues here at work would describe me probably as a very thorough person in terms of I'm very keen to detail, and I like to pursue excellence. I like to say excellence, not perfection. So I'm quite detailed and thorough in everything that I do. I'm also quite passionate. Currently working in my different roles here, I do whatever I do with a lot of passion because I believe it's a God-given opportunity. So I'm quite passion-driven and really put, all the effort into whichever role that I've been given to do. With my career currently, I'm very focused on teamwork and collaboration. I can't do it all, and I can't do it without the support that I have. So I'm also one that likes to work within a team, collaborate. I've walked and journeyed on the shoulders of mentors, and I also like to do the same for the people who come after me. So yeah, I believe I embody that in everything that I do, and I know my colleagues would describe me in that way. All right. I enjoy traveling. Probably if I was not in this space, I'd probably be traveling around the world, but I just don't like just traveling for the sake. I like traveling for purpose. By virtue of being a medical educator, a researcher, I get to travel for conferences to present work that I have done in the academic space. I know you mentioned away from the academic space, but I think it fulfills me to know that I'm traveling to see new places, but it also fulfills me to know that it's part of what I do on an everyday. So traveling is something that I really enjoy to do. The other thing that I'd mentioned before, I consider that I run a small kindergarten in my house. I have 4 children. So I just enjoy spending a lot of time with them, especially now that they are young, knowing that they will grow up very soon and they will leave my house. So I like to also spend a lot of time with them to also nurture them in the best way that I possibly can. A younger Dr. Catherine, I'd tell them that it's very important, one, to embrace change and lifelong learning. That's very, very important because I think I've gotten to where I am through that. I don't know it all, especially now that I get to engage with students. So just be willing to learn from whichever opportunity, including younger people than you, as well as much as you learn from the older ones. So just be willing to embrace change and be a lifelong learner. That's something I would say. The other thing, and I'm sure most of us have heard about this, is look for the areas around you that challenge you, or areas around you that you seem to have a problem with, or you identify a problem. That could be the very area where God is calling you to make a difference. As I've mentioned before, in my growing up, I really wondered whether healthcare can move from a disease-focused model to health and wellness. And that is what has gotten me to pursuing family medicine. I believe that primary healthcare should not be a luxury for some, but it should be something that everyone gets. So that just identifying that problem and looking inwardly and seeing how can I solve that problem, not only to myself but to my community at large. Even in my medical education space, I kept on wondering, can we advocate for curriculum reforms and change within the medical education spaces that we are in, and identify a career pathway that can give me an opportunity to do that, and that's where I'm doing. So whatever problems that you face and that intrigue you, you probably are being called to bring change in those aspects. So that's something that I have learned, and I would tell my younger self that whatever challenges you see them as opportunities to bring change in your set. I'll mention something else regarding some of the challenges that I face in my day-to-day work. As I said, I have that unique opportunity of grooming medical students to become medical doctors. So one of my challenges is the current generation of students that we have. They are quite curious, they are quite bold, they are quite daring, they challenge, the way we do things. And so dealing with this new generation forces one to also change and become innovative into how we practice and help them learn. So that has been one of my greatest challenge in my area of work, but it's not a challenge that I've been unable to overcome since, as I said, I've learned to be adaptable and embrace change. The next challenge has been, dealing with faculty. Some of the faculty that I get the opportunity to work with are faculty who are from a different generation than the students. So trying to bridge that, and so that the students are able to see things from the faculty's point of view, but the faculty are also able to see things from the students' point of view, and allowing each other to learn, together has been another challenge, but one that I've also been able to mitigate and sort of help to bridge, because the ultimate goal is changing medical education, teaching and practice here in Kenya. So those are some of the challenges that I have faced. The other thing that I'd like to say is, in the near future, where do I see myself? I see myself as the dean of a medical school. I want to run a medical school. That's where I see myself, by the grace of God. The main reason is because I see myself playing an even bigger role advocating for curriculum reforms within the medical education spaces, countrywide, regionally, and even globally. And so I think such an opportunities would even give me a bigger voice. Ultimately, I want to see a new breed of medical students becoming medical doctors to face and be able to solve the ever-evolving healthcare need that we currently have with our population. So that's where I see myself in the near future, and I hope that I'm going to achieve that by the grace of God.